Okay, good morning, everyone. I'll start with a brief review of the market segments and a bit introduction of what Mobileye is doing, and then I'll deep dive into autonomous driving and what we're doing there, and also the challenges that we are facing and the entire industry is facing. So in terms of market segments, there is the level 1, level 2 driving assist systems. It's a field that is growing significantly. It's today the bread and butter of everyone who is dealing with sophisticated sensors that are there in the car to avoid collisions and provide safety to drivers. Level 2 plus, it's a new category in which you take a driving assist system with a front-facing camera. Perhaps there's also a front-facing radar, and then you add a high-definition map to it. And if you do it efficiently enough, you can get a significantly enhanced functional level, hands-free driving, semi-autonomous driving at very, very low costs. It's a new category that is emerging, and I'll say a few words about it. Then comes the levels of autonomy, level 3, 4, and in highway piloting. These are programs that are starting end of 2019, 2020, focused on highway, focused on passenger cars. It's not mobility as a service. It's people who are buying their own vehicles and have advanced functions that allow them hands-free driving, safe hands-free driving at certain modes like highway modes. The next market is the robotaxi market, where there's no driver behind the steering wheel at all. It's mostly in geofenced urban areas. Introduction is more or less the same time frame, 2020, 2021. Here it's a mobility as a service, so it's much more than just a technology for powering the vehicles. There's an entire ecosystem around that. And then down there below on the slide, it's all the data proposition of this industry. What do you do with data? What kind of data? How do you monetize data? How data factors into the ecosystem? So in terms of driving assist, Mobileye's position is a tier 2. We supply a system on chip, which we call an IQ. We are now on our 4th generation chip. The 5th generation chip is coming out end of this year. It's a closed system. It's a chip, and all the software, application software, algorithms, everything around the full system, from sensing to actuation inside the chip. This chip is integrated by tier 1s into a system and then implemented by the car manufacturer into the car. So in driving assist, our position in the value chain is a tier 2 position. When we go to higher autonomy levels, the value nodes are going to be different, and our position in the value nodes are also going to be different, and I'll make that point later as we get there. In terms of our family of chips, so now a few slides just to give a brief introduction who we are. IQ3 was launched end of 2014. The first car manufacturer that had the IQ3 was the Tesla Autopilot 1.0. It was a 1/4 tera operations per second chip. IQ4 launched this year with BMW, with NIO, Volkswagen. There are about 6 launches of IQ4 this year and about 12 next year. It's a 2.5 tera operations in terms of the deep learning, running at 6 watts, so the power consumption is very, very efficient. And it's powering much more advanced driving assist. IQ5 is being sampled the end of this year. It's 10 times stronger. It's a 24 tera operations chip. It will be powering our high automation programs like robotaxi and level 3, level 4 going forward. So we have a very, very tight design of software and hardware such that they work together in a very efficient manner. Here's kind of the block diagram of an IQ4. The point to make here is that we have CPUs. In this case, there are 4 CPUs. We have a a diverse set of accelerators. So it's not only deep learning accelerators. We have accelerators that can handle multi-threaded functions per pixel, accelerators that are more focused on computer vision, not just deep learning. So it's a wide variety of accelerator types that are sitting on a chip that make it very, very powerful at a very, very low power consumption. In terms of the number of IQ being shipped, we have around 50% growth year on year. I put here the numbers since 2014 when Mobileye became a public company. And you can see that 2018 will be around 50% higher than 2017 in the number of IQ chips being shipped 2018. And you see that we have to date 32 million chips being shipped. It means that 32 million cars are using driving assist with our technology. Few more numbers, design wins, production programs in 2018, we had 17 of them, about 6 of them in China. We have ongoing 42 production programs where production are end of 2018 until 2022. Each production program, once it starts, it's between 5 to 7 years, so it gives a very, very stable projection, and it's the financial stability to our activity. And we had 6 launches this year. There will be 2 more until the end of the year, so about 8 launches of new products with car manufacturers of driving assist. Last slide of a broad introduction. Mobileye had quite a large number of industry-first launches. So we started in 2007. We were the first to launch radar camera fusion. This was with Volvo and Delphi at the time. In 2008, we were the first to launch traffic sign recognition on the camera. In 2010, we were first to launch pedestrian detection. Again, that was with Volvo, and you see here that was with an IQ2. Then we had camera-only forward collision warning back in 2011. This was the first industry first. 2013, we had the first camera-based adaptive cruise control. That was with BMW. And we had the first camera-based AEB. It was partial braking. AEB is autonomous emergency braking. In 2015, we had the first camera-only AEB full braking, up to 1 G-force of braking, and the first autopilot with Tesla. 2016, with the Nissan ProPilot, high-volume hands-free driving. This year, we launched IQ4. It's with the system also creates data for maps, the project we call REM. And in 2020, IQ5 is coming. 2021, we announced this partnership with BMW and Intel, and also Fiat Chrysler and Aptiv to start launching fully autonomous driving for robotaxi ecosystems. So that was the introduction. So how things look into the future. When we look about driving assist, so driving assist is a very lively field, highly influenced by regulatory bodies, where the influence is very positive to our field. The regulatory bodies are adding more and more requirements. Those requirements require higher levels of sophistication, higher levels of technology, which for us is very, very good. It means there isn't a stagnation of the feature set which commoditizes the value of our technology. There is an increasing demand for more and more sophistication, wider field of view, being able to detect cyclists and pedestrians in more diverse setting, being able to detect cars while the ego car is turning, situations like this. So this is very, very good for us, and we have been winning, if not all, then most of all the production programs in this field. In any case, any program that we have been invited as an RFQ, we have won it in the last number of years, including up to now. So this is a driving assist. Then comes a new category, level 2 plus. with the ability to integrate mapping. So the idea of mapping is to use a crowdsourced mechanism for collecting data from cars that have a front-facing camera for driving assist. And as you saw, the number of new cars coming out with a front-facing camera is increasing about 50% year on year. So 2018, we shipped about 12 million units. So the number of cars with a front-facing camera is growing and is significant. The idea is to have software on top of the driving assist that collects landmarks and collects information about the lanes and semantic meaning of those lanes, sent it into small packets to the cloud. A packet is about 10 kilobytes per kilometer. In the cloud, we aggregate all the information and maintain a high-definition map, which we call a road book. And then this map is sent back to the cars to power enhanced driving assist and later semi-autonomous driving and fully autonomous driving. Let me show you just a clip to give you an idea. What you see on the left-hand side is you'll see a movie where all the yellow rectangles are landmarks that the system finds to localize itself inside the map. And the lines are the map data projected onto the image space. And you'll see that those lines sit really on lanes and road boundaries very, very accurately. So we're talking about a few centimeters of error, 2-3 centimeters, so very, very accurate. On the right-hand side, you're going to see the projection onto Google Earth, where the dots are landmarks that the system has identified. So you see that there is quite a large richness of landmarks, but it's not a frame by frame. So it's not like a classical SLAM in computer vision, where every frame you look for thousands of points to localize yourself. Here, there is a recognition going on where the system recognizes traffic lights, traffic signs, pavement markings, poles, etc., and uses them for localization. Okay, so this is the technology for building maps. And in terms of the business, there's two facets to it. One is an uplink, the other one is a downlink. The uplink business model, we have contracts with car manufacturers to allow us to send this data to the cloud. The ones that we had made public was BMW, Volkswagen, and Nissan, but we are basically engaged with most of the car manufacturers we're working with. And we also have our aftermarket division using a next generation aftermarket unit, which also has the ability to send data to the cloud. So we are engaged with most of the car manufacturers with the possibility to send the data to the cloud. This year, the production with BMW, the production with Volvo is giving us about 2 million units per year in terms of data collection. In terms of the downlink business model, we have already a high volume design win with a major car manufacturer that is using, starting from the end of 2019, is using the map that we have been building to power enhanced driving assist, to power level 2+, so provide lane keeping at much, much higher performance levels, even when the lane marks do not exist or the lane marks are washed out, or when you're in an urban setting, the system knows where the drivable path is and will give you a very, very good lane keeping assist. It knows about traffic lights. So the functionality that can be offered to the driver is much higher than regular ADAS. And this is really a high volume production. We have requests coming from many more car manufacturers to start quoting this kind of offering. And we are in the last phases of mapping all highways of Japan together with Zenrin, the map maker, using our technology to power Nissan's Level 3 introduction in 2019. You'll see here as part of the mapping of Japan. So all highways of Japan are being mapped using the REM technology. So what does this map data give us in terms of enabling new markets? First, enhanced driving assist, this level 2+. This is a new market, a new value. It generates recurring revenues. So it's not just a one-time fee. So this is really an exciting new opportunity. It also powers the mobility as a service. Mobility as a service requires maps, requires those maps to be continuously updated. Using crowdsourcing, it's not only we generate the maps, but we update them continuously. So it allows scalability, it allows proliferation of autonomous driving. It also powers the level 3, level 4 highway pilots that are coming out starting from 2019. It powers Intel's position as an end-to-end solution provider. Support smart cities. We are engaged with the municipalities to see how we can use this crowdsourced data to do infrastructure survey, provide real-time notifications about hazards on the road. So the point that I want to make here that this is really a powerful data story, and the revenue-generating potential has just begun. It's yet to unfold. Going deeper into autonomous driving, we want to focus on 4 dimensions. One, an autonomous car has to be safe, and I'll be more specific about that momentarily. Has to be useful in terms of doesn't block traffic, can merge into traffic in an agile way. What the car is doing, the decision making has to be transparent. God forbid there is an accident, we need to explain what happened there. And it needs to be scalable. Right? When we go from city to city, the amount of investment that we need to scale, to proliferate, should be very, very small. So scalability, if you want to build a business, has to be scalable. So beyond the sensing, what we have with autonomous driving is the car needs to make decisions. Needs to make decisions to change lane, how to change lane, when to give way, when to take way, do it in an agile manner. That's planning and acting. Once you know what you want to do, how do you implement it in a way that is safe and is comfortable? So in terms of challenges, one is I would say, the disambiguation or the boundary between agility and dangers. How do you, and that will constitute safety, how do you go and define it? How do you validate safety? And can you provide guarantees both to regulatory bodies and to society about what exactly you are doing and what's going to be effect of those decisions that the car is making. Second one is scalability, proliferation, economic scalability. So first one is mapping. Mapping could be a big bottleneck unless you use crowdsourcing. So that we have covered using REM and contracts with car manufacturers to allow us to send data. What kind of compute density are you using? Your chipset. What kind of algorithms you are using? Are they efficient, non-efficient? Are you dealing with the problem in a brute force manner, which requires a huge investment in infrastructure, in computing infrastructure, or is something that is really fine-tuned to the application? Your sensor selection versus redundancy, and how do you put this in a package for safety? If you do it right, you can save a lot of money. So all of this is about scalability. So when we look at this agility versus danger, or safety and agility, the point I want to make here that this is a significant problem. So if we look at the real life situation, this is from Israel. How drivers interact in a very agile way, very assertive and agile way. But it's not just Israel. It's very typical to many, many countries, to France, to Italy, to cities here in the US like Boston, New York, Los Angeles. Driving in Phoenix, Arizona, or Mountain View, California is only a fraction of the challenges that you have to handle. And if you are not agile, you will limit your proliferation, you'll limit scalability. And the problem is how do you disambiguate agility from danger? Because if you don't have a formal model of what is danger, what is dangerous, you cannot be agile. And to make this point closer, I redacted, so this was a week ago, at the CNET and Roadshow, I redacted the name of the actor because the point here is not to poke on any competitor. This is something that you find with all actors that are putting test vehicles on the road, is that those vehicles, and here I highlighted, are not behaving in a way that you expect a human driver to behave, are too conservative to a point where residents around hate those vehicles. They can block traffic. And here we're talking about an actor that is really the most experienced actor in this field. So it's not a fine-tuning of the system. It's not a system that has been launched for testing half a year ago, and you say, okay, well, this is fine-tuning. In a month, few months, in a year, they will improve. Here we're talking about many, many years of testing, and it's very, very consistent. These vehicles are not agile. And this is really a fundamental and core issue. You see this not only with this actor, but everyone that is putting their vehicles on the road, and similar reports. You can find similar reports in the media about the lack of agility. And really the source, what we identified, that the source of the problem is the lack of a formal model that defines what dangerous is. So just to give you an idea, let's assume that I'm a driver and I'm cutting someone's lane, and that other guy hits me. We go to court, and then there'll be two stories. My story was that this guy was inattentive. He should have slowed down. His story, or her story, is going to be that I was reckless. Right? I shouldn't have cut the lane the way I did, and then it's a matter of the court and jury and lawyers and so forth to decide which story is the correct one. And this is an example, is that, you know, the definition of dangerous is not defined in a formal manner, and humans don't need it. But when you have machines that measure everything carefully, you can start making formal definitions of what dangerous is. And this is from the same article, where the author of the article mentions Mobileye's RSS system, and he even took a test ride in it, and he found out that the car behaves in a human-like way. So it was a paper that we started publishing almost a year ago. Since then, there's a big campaign of standardizing it, having actors, industry actors adopt it. Our car makers, most of them are adopting it, working with regulatory bodies to adopt it, or to recognize it, or to use it as a start of a conversation of how to formalize the definition of dangerous. And what it has, it defines dangerous in a formal manner. It defines a proper response. When you are in a dangerous situation, what is the proper response you need to have in order to get out of the dangerous situation? And once you have those two, you can also define responsibility. Who is responsible for an accident? So once a system understands formally what dangerous is, understands where the boundary between non-danger and danger is, you can be agile, because you know not to go into the dangerous situation. When you don't have this formal definition, or you don't integrate it into your decision making, you become conservative, because you don't know, if I'm going to change lane, if an accident is going to happen, is it going to be my fault, not going to be my fault, so I better not change lane. And this is where you see the lack of agility. So when you look at the core assets for driving autonomy, one is the visual perception. This is the core in driving assist that I mentioned before. Then there is sensor fusion. You have other sensors like radars and laser scanners, and you fuse them together with the camera. You have the dynamic mapping, the REM, the crowdsourced mapping that we initiated, and we are well underway of implementing it as a business and also as a technology. Then there's the driving policy, the decision-making of the car in order to merge into traffic. What I mentioned before is how to allow agility, but there's also a set of algorithms that are underlying your decision-making. The RSS is this safety layer that determines the boundary between agility and danger. And then there's the compute platform. In our case, the compute platform is IQ5s, and we're also designing the next phase of IQ6. So when we look at driving policy is an area that if you don't do it right, the amount of computing that you need there becomes really exponential. So the way we looked at the driving policy, we divided into four layers. One is a strategy layer. Strategy layer is the decision of the car to now, for example, overtake or change lane. That's a strategic decision. Tactics is a decision, for example, which vehicle to give way and which vehicle to take way. For example, when you want to change lane, you are going to fit into a gap between two vehicles. One vehicle you gave way, the vehicle in front, and the other vehicle you took way. This is how you change lane. So the decision of you know, in a dense environment, which vehicle to take way, which vehicle to give way, we call this tactics. The strategy and tactics are being resolved in a machine learning algorithm. It's called reinforcement learning. It is using heavy simulation to create scenarios for learning, and it's very similar to the most recent reinforcement learning algorithms for playing video games or playing games like Go, AlphaGo 0 from DeepMind. So it's very, very heavy in terms of training, but then very light in terms of the real-time application, because the result of the very, very heavy training is simply a neural network that, given a sensing state, will give an action. Then there's the path planning, the trajectory that you need to take, and control. So let me show you here a test vehicle. The test vehicle is powered by 12 cameras. We have another separate subsystem of radars and lidars, but I'm showing you now only the camera processing. It runs with 4 IQ4s. So the 12 cameras are nicely placed at the car, but provides a 360-degree sensing of 8 cameras long range and 4 parking cameras very, very near range. So in front sensing, you have 3 different fields of view, from 150 to 28. Then you have corner cameras, both front and rear, and the rear camera, and then parking camera completes the. So let me show you a few clips here. What you're going to see in the top view. So the blue car is the ego vehicle. Red is the vehicle that the algorithm decided to give way, and green is to take way. So between red and green, you basically try to fit yourself in, and the decision of red and green is done at 10 hertz. So now you see that the traffic is very, very dense, and the system, for example, decided that a car should take way, but then changes its mind because the other car simply doesn't allow you to take its way until it finds its way in, squeezes its way in, and goes inside. It will do it again. And here the traffic is very, very dense, and nobody is giving you way. It is very, very challenging to get in. We have what we call working on a Turing test of driving, where someone in the back seat at the end of the drive should say whether the car was driven with the algorithm or driven by a human driver. We're not there yet, but we're getting close to it. Here's another situation where there's human-like driving. So the blue car needs to change lane to the right. It will make a decision between those two cars, and now it will accelerate. You see how the car accelerates in order to fit in. This is a very, very human-like maneuver. The last one, you'll see a motorcycle on the right-hand side. So the system decided to take way the motorcycle. It wanted to change lane, but then it came to the conclusion that the motorcyclist does not allow it to change lane. It will give it way and then change lane. So when we look at the higher automation in terms of the value nodes, unlike driving assist, in the higher automation we have 4 nodes of the value chain, and we're taking position in all of them. The first one is simply silicon, open compute. Our IQ5 chip is also coming as an open version. Together with that, you can have Atom, you can have Denverton from Intel as an open compute. Second node position is the same as we do today with driving assist. It's the silicon plus all our software, all the software that you have seen in the previous slide that is able to do an end-to-end, both the perception, the mapping, fusion, the driving policy. The third node in the value chain is providing a subsystem, complete subsystem. Say, for example, hardware that will have 2 or 3 IQ5s that deal only with the perception and mapping and provide a policy recommender to a fuller system where components are being provided by other parties, like fusion can be done by a third party, where we sell a subsystem. The fourth point in the fourth node in the value chain is we provide a complete system where we do the main board with the 3IQ5, another fail operational board, all the ASIL, the functional safety, it's all included as part of a retrofit of a car, especially for the robotaxi environment. In terms of the market opportunity, I took here a slide from UBS. I don't subscribe to the numbers, the 260 billion. The point I want to make here is that the areas in the value chain that we're positioning ourselves is really the high margin part, really the interesting part of the ecosystem of autonomous driving. In terms of where we are in 2019, and that's the last slide, we have, as part of a tier 2, we are working with BMW, Fiat Chrysler, and Aptiv for 2021 robotaxis and level 4 for passenger cars. There's another group OEM, I cannot mention its name, same kind of activity. In terms of providing a full retrofit or a hardware component, another group OEM, truck OEM, a mobility as a service operator, and also we're working with another group OEM as part of an ecosystem of a mobility as a service. So just to summarize, in terms of level 1, level 2 driving assist, Mobileye now remains in the lead position. We were a leader for so many years. We are still, and actually we are even growing that position. Level 2 plus, it's a new category. It's really powered and driven by our very innovative crowdsourcing technology, which we call REM, and we started receiving also high volume business for the downlink, for using those maps. And then finally the combination where we have the right compute, the silicon, legacy computer vision and driving assist, thought leadership like the RSS and the driving policy, and the weight of Intel's resources puts us in a very, very good position of executing a very challenging roadmap that puts us on all possible nodes of the value chain, from tier 2 until a full retrofit for robotaxi. Thank you.